Nos encontramos para la revista Lee Más y el día de hoy me encuentro con
Kathryn Purdie.
And I have some questions for you. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. The first one. Well, we can see that you're a very passionate for art and fiction. So, how does this became part of your life since your childhood?
Yeah. When I was little, my father, well, he did lots of things. He produced plays. He owned a small publishing company for music and later books. So my family was very supportive of the arts. But the thing that really hooked me on storytelling in particular, my dad, when I was little, he played the record of To Kill a Mockingbird, but the music, just the music. And while the music was playing, he told the story of To Kill a Mockingbird in his own words. And then whenever it was like about the little kids, I would get up and act it out. So I don't know why, but that somehow like made an imprint on me. And just really, even though that wasn't like, he didn't read a book to me, we read books too, but this particular experience just helped me understand how art can transcend any medium, like music, performing, books.
So you would say that's like a core memory.
Yeah, it is.
A pretty unique experience.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, talking about the book, the Grimm Forest, right? Mm-hmm. Not the Forest Grimm.
The Forest Grimm.
The Forest Grimm.
Yeah. Grimm.
Yeah. Talking about the Forest Grimm, there are many references to classic fairy tales, specifically for Grimm fairy tales.
Yes.
So, how have you managed to renew and deepen these stories?
Renew and what?
Renew and deepen these stories.
Okay. Yeah. So the thing I've always been drawn to the most when I began to read, and then it's been the thing I'm still drawn to this day, is like the origin stories of any culture. So like mythology and the fairy tales, they all come from like these deeper, older stories that are just like in our bones. And so for the Grimm's fairy tales, you know, the brothers Grimm's, they collected these fairy tales, but they didn't write them. So I thought it would be cool to invent a story that combined a lot of the fairy tales together, but is like the origin story. It's like the true story of where they all came, how they all came to be. And I thought it would be cool, instead of having a bunch of short stories, to have them all told from one character's perspective. So I have my Little Red Riding Hood that's 17, Clara. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I wanted to tell kind of like the origin stories, darker, more romantic, more mature. But yeah, like kind of like how they came to be in my imagination.
Okay. For example, can you tell us which characters are we supposed to see in this book? You said Little Red Riding Hood?
Yeah, Clara, the main character, is Little Red. I don't call her Little Red Riding Hood, but she wears a cape. Her grandmother, I think, sometimes calls her Little Red in like a different language. And then there's the love interest who's supposed to represent Prince Charming.
Okay.
And then we have a Cinderella character. And Cinderella, it's confusing, not confusing, but it's multi-layered, where Clara, the Little Red character, sometimes parts of Cinderella's story that we think should happen to Cinderella happen to Clara instead. And Cinderella is kind of a darker character. And then there's Hansel and Gretel. There's a Sleeping Beauty character. There's a wolf, a big bad wolf.
Yeah, just like in the cover.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about the names? For example, if I recall, Cinderella's real name is Ella. But what about the others? For example, we have also Rapunzel in here.
Yes, yeah? There you go. Yeah, Rapunzel and her village. They all came from the village, and then were lured into the forest or got lost in the forest. And then the longer they're there, they become twisted versions of themselves. So Rapunzel, her village name was Fiora. And then she changes her name to Rapunzel. And Rapunzel, her hair is dyed from her mother eating red rampion when she was pregnant. But the red rampion and the Rapunzel kind of thread is what ties all the fairy tales together. They all have a connection with the red rampion, this red flower.
Okay. Well, you said before that this particular story takes a little twist in the classic fairy tales, but with the original version, which are way more darker
Yeah.
than the ones we know. How do you feel about fantasy being a genre not only for children but for different audiences?
Yeah, and I think it is traditionally, especially when you look at the roots. I mean, they're very dark, and they were told to children, but they were passed down from adults and had to have interest, I think, for all ages, all levels. And so I wanted to kind of reawaken some of the maturity back into them. And it's a young adult book, so it's not like, and just trying to make it especially more romantic. I feel like a lot of the romance is taken out or toned down quite a bit in the Grimm's fairy tales, and they're more sometimes like just cautionary tales, like don't talk to strangers in the
Yeah,
woods,
they had a
don't eat
lesson.
from the witch
Okay.
in the cottage. But yeah, I wanted mine to be less like there's a moral to the story, and just get back to that, like that primal storytelling feel that we all relate to any age.
Okay. So, would you consider your book for any audiences?
Yeah.
Any?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, while I was reading the book, I quite noticed that the main characters are teenagers. Well, sort of
Yes.
teenagers,
Yes.
and they are in some way trying to change the course of their world by, well, changing the forest background and recovering the people that's in the forest.
Yeah.
Do you believe or do you think that two teenagers can actually change the course of the world?
Yeah. And for them, it's like their village is their world, right? They're they don't understand. They don't. It's not like an epic fantasy that has a map that's going to show all these different countries. I wanted to write a fantasy where they're from a small village, and that is their entire world, and it feels big to them. And I think people can relate to that because we are part of a big world, but we also have our like
Our little words?
our little like nuclear units, and that's where you can make change. But that change is so powerful, and it has a ripple effect, and it can go on to change, I think, the world.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but the first Grimm came out like last year or something?
Yes, 2023 in
2023
English.
in English,
Mhm.
and this year 2024 in Spanish. How do you feel having this book and the new one, Hechicera de Huesos, being translated in Spanish? How do you feel?
I am so excited. I've been waiting for years and years and years for my books to be translated into Spanish, and I've had so many readers reach out. When are your books going to be translated in Spanish? So I like out of any other language. I'm sorry to all the other countries that speak different languages, but this is the one I've been most excited about. And it's really exciting. These are my most popular books so far. The Bone Crush Moon, Hechicera de Huesos.
Hechicera de Huesos.
Yeah, I can't say it like you guys can
Don't
say.
worry.
I'm
Don't worry.
trying. Yeah, this one's been like my biggest hit so far, but then this one's my newest one and has done well too. So I feel like the best of the best is being thrown at you in Spanish. So it's just thrilling.
We're glad to have these books in Spanish. And well, while you were writing these books, I suppose that you already plan to have them translated.
Not like when I'm writing them, I don't think about how it's going to be to translate them. That's your guys' job. I don't know.
No,
Is that
no,
what you mean?
no. For example, that when you wrote the story, you said, okay, I wanted this book to be in English, in Spanish, in German, in French.
Yeah, like
Did you think that?
Yeah, like, is it going to reach a worldwide audience? Is it going to resonate with everybody everywhere? And all you can do really as an author is try to write the best story that excites you the most and that feels personal in some way. And interestingly enough, the more truthful and personal you can make it, it's that honesty that's going to resonate like past any boundary, any language.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, like I said, we're glad to have these books in Spanish. And how does it feel to being a writer for you?
To have them in Spanish?
No, to be a writer.
Oh, to be a writer.
What's the best part of being a writer?
It's a great privilege. And while it's a privilege, at the same time, anybody can do it. Like getting traditionally published is another thing that can, you have to work really hard towards. But I just absolutely love it. I grew up acting, and that's what I studied in college, like classical acting, a lot of Shakespeare and stuff like that. And that was my dream. And I thought that I was fulfilling my dream. Then when I started writing, I was like, wow, it's even more enriching than acting because I get to do everything. I get to be all the characters. I get to make the costumes. I get to make the sets. I get to direct it. It's just like creating a whole entire world. It's like a magician or a Greek god.
Yeah, it's like you're the goddess.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was checking on Goodreads. I don't know if you are on Goodreads.
I try to stay away. I don't like to be there and look at reviews. That's authors. We try to stay away from there.
Okay. Well, I saw on that side that this book, The Forest Grimm, is having a sequel.
Yes.
What can you tell us about that sequel?
The sequel is largely a murder mystery. So it reads in a way like a traditional murder mystery. But there's magic and lots of deeper magic with Clara's abilities. And there's more Grimm's fairy tale characters included while keeping the ones that I still introduce. So there's a lot. And they're all embroiled in this murder mystery that mostly like the solving of it takes place in the forest.
Okay, and do you have the title?
In English, it's The Deathly Grimm.
Okay.
So if they keep it the same, what would that be? The Deathly Grimm?
El Grimm Letal?
Something
like that. Okay, and besides this, is it going to be a duology?
Duology.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Besides this duology, do you have any other plans for the future?
I am writing something right now, actually revising something that I wrote 10 years ago. It's my most romantic fantasy to date. It's a standalone as of now, and I feel like now is the best time with the popularity of romanticy. It's like I said, it's something I already had written, and a lot of people that have read my stuff, even though this story hasn't been published yet, for many of my like friends and critique partners and family that have read it, it's my favorite story. It's their favorite story of what I've written so far. So I have high hopes that it will sell. I don't want to say too much more about it because, don't want to spoil it. But that's what I'm working on right now, is like brushing up my writing because I wrote it a few years ago.
Okay. We hope to see that one soon.
Thank you.
And in Spanish as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, Kathryn, those are all the questions we have for you.
Thank you.
So anything you'd like to say for the readers?
Mexico, you're beautiful. All you Spanish-speaking, Spanish-reading readers, thank you so much. I feel like your enthusiasm has somehow channeled these books to be translated into your language, and I hope you enjoy them.
Thank you so much, Kathryn. Y pueden encontrar El Bosque Grimm y Hechicera de Huesos ya disponibles en español.